When passion turns tragic, the YouTube community feels the loss deeply. Explore the shocking and mysterious circumstances behind beloved creators who never finish their videos. From unexplained events to heartbreaking accidents, these stories will leave you speechless. Are you ready to uncover the truth behind these heartbreaking finales? Don't miss out on 1 hour of most disturbing deaths of YouTubers who died while filming videos. Late at night on January 24, 2022, in Lost Dutchman State Park, Arizona. Richard Jacobson, a 21-year-old from Mesa, Arizona, was camping with a friend on the Flatiron Summit in the Superstition Mountains. Richard was an avid outdoorsman who loved hiking, hunting, and exploring new places. He had been looking forward to this trip for a long time. As the clock went near midnight, Richard and his friend, whose name remains undisclosed, decided to take some photos to capture the stunning nighttime view. The Flatiron Summit is known for its challenging terrain and breathtaking views, making it a popular spot for hikers and photographers. Richard, excited to capture the city skyline in the background, walked to the edge to take a selfie. Shortly after midnight, as Richard positioned himself for the perfect shot, he lost his footing. The ground beneath him gave way and he slipped, falling an estimated 700 feet to the ground below. His friend, witnessing the horrifying incident, immediately called 911 at around 12:45 a.m., desperately hoping for a miracle. Sergeant Doug Peeble from the Pinal County Sheriff's Office Search and Rescue Team led the investigation and rescue efforts. He explained, "Mr. Jacobson went to take a photograph with himself and the city skyline in the background, and he lost his footing and slipped." Peeble said that there were no signs of foul play or drug use involved. It was a tragic accident. The Arizona Department of Public Safety quickly dispatched a helicopter to assist with the recovery operation. The rough terrain made the recovery challenging, but the team managed to locate Richard's body later that day, approximately 700 feet below where he had fallen. His friend was airlifted from the mountain, distraught and in shock. Richard Jacobson was well known among his friends and family for his kind personality. Andrew Thomas, a close friend who had spent time with Richard on a missionary trip in 2020, shared his memories of Richard with the media. "I spent all my waking hours with Richard, so I got to know him pretty well," Thomas said. "He was an outdoorsman, hunter, hiker. He did stuff like that, so I guess he died doing what he loved, just in a tragic way." Thomas described Richard as someone who treated everyone with respect and had a great sense of humor. "He really was one of those guys that everyone loved, and it's sad to lose him, but we know that it's not the end," Thomas added. "We're going to see him again." The tragic accident at Flatiron Summit tells us about the dangers that can come with outdoor adventures. The Siphon Draw Trail, one of the most popular routes to Flatiron Peak, is known for its steep and rocky terrain. Hikers often encounter rock slides and other hazards, making it a challenging hike that requires caution and focus.
It was May 28, 2013, in Cornwall, England. Jacob Cockle, a 28-year-old thrill-seeker and professional photographer, stood at the edge of Carnsue Pool, part of the Haley Estuary. He had always been drawn to danger, capturing extreme moments through his camera lens. That day, he was about to take on his next challenge, filming a whirlpool created by old Victorian tunnels designed to move sand out of the harbour. However, this moment of adventure would end in tragedy. Jacob wasn't just any photographer. He was known for documenting risky stunts and breathtaking natural events with millions of views on his videos. On this day, he planned to film himself in the whirlpool, wearing a plastic horse's head for a humorous touch. His friend, 70-year-old David Rain, stood nearby with a camera, ready to film. The whirlpool twisted violently, but Jacob didn't hesitate. He believed he knew how to handle it, as he had shared advice on dealing with dangerous waters on his YouTube channel. At around 7:30 p.m., Jacob waved to David and asked for a smaller camera on an 8-foot pole to capture underwater shots. As always, he was fearless, having grown up swimming in the sea. But as the camera rolled, the unthinkable happened. Jacob was sucked into the whirlpool. He resurfaced briefly on the other side, but was quickly pulled under again. David stood helpless on the shore, unable to intervene. Despite Jacob's swimming skills, the powerful water currents took him. There were signs warning people not to swim, but Jacob ignored them. He was a strong swimmer and had faced dangerous waters before. However, the whirlpool was unforgiving. Within moments, Jacob was pulled into an underwater tunnel, vanishing from sight. David, along with a nearby fisherman, called emergency services. Sadly, it was too late. Jacob's body emerged from the other side of the pool, lifeless. David and a passerby tried to revive him, but their efforts failed. Lifeboat crews arrived and airlifted Jacob to the Royal Cornwall Hospital, where he was pronounced dead. The cause of death: drowning. Later, an inquest revealed that Jacob had traces of ketamine, a tranquilizer, in his system. It remains unclear whether the drug affected his judgment that day. The coroner ruled Jacob's death an accident, stating that while Jacob took risks, they were usually well considered. In his final moments, he was doing what he loved, capturing the power of nature. Jacob's relationship with the sea began when he was young. Growing up in Penzance, Cornwall, he spent much of his life in the water. His mother, Carolyn, recalled that once Jacob was in the sea, it was nearly impossible to get him out. He learned to swim early and developed a passion for surfing, diving and swimming. But his love for danger intensified after a personal tragedy. When Jacob was a teenager, his older sister Grace passed away from a brain tumor. The loss devastated the family, and Jacob was particularly affected. He and Grace had shared a close bond, even creating a secret language as children. Her death changed Jacob's outlook on life. He began living fearlessly, believing he had to live for both himself and Grace. Her passing pushed him to take more risks, feeling that life was short and should be lived without fear. Jacob's daredevil nature wasn't limited to the sea. He would often take leaps from tall buildings into the water. On one occasion, he jumped from a 3-story building into Penzance Harbour. Another time, he jumped into the harbour outside a nightclub, narrowly avoiding being crushed by a ship. Despite these close calls, Jacob always managed to survive, until this day. Beyond his thrill-seeking nature, Jacob was an incredibly talented photographer. By his 20s, he had won awards from National Geographic and the Sunday Times. His photography, often focused on the sea, captured both its beauty and its danger. In 2011, he took a famous image of 2 surfers being swept off a sea wall by 30-foot waves, nearly losing his own life in the process. His work earned him international recognition. Just weeks before his death, Jacob had won a 28,000-pound expedition to Antarctica, a dream opportunity for any photographer. But he would never make that trip. His friends and family believed he was on the verge of achieving his greatest ambitions. Yet, in the end, his love for extreme moments cost him his life. Jacob's death left a deep void in the lives of those who loved him. His mother described him as a free spirit who saw no danger in life, while his friends remembered him as someone who lived without fear. His girlfriend Rachel spoke about how, after Grace's death, Jacob felt he had to live life to the fullest for both of them.
It was a warm day in 2015 in Iasi, a city in northeastern Romania. Ana Ursu, an 18-year-old high school student, was out with her friend. Like many teenagers of her time, Anna was fascinated with social media and loved capturing moments to share online. This day, however, would turn tragic as Anna's desire for the perfect photo led to a fatal accident. Anna and her friend had decided to visit a local train station. The station was relatively quiet, with most trains stationary. It was an ideal spot for the teenagers to explore and find unique places for their photos. Anna wanted to take what she called the ultimate selfie, a photograph that would stand out on her Facebook profile. She envisioned a daring shot perched high atop a train. For Anna, it wasn't just about the photo, but about capturing a moment that would wow her friends and followers. The 2 girls climbed onto the roof of a stationary train. They laughed and joked, their spirits high as they prepared to take the photo. Anna decided on a pose where she lay on her back with one leg raised in the air. She thought it would make for a dramatic shot. Unfortunately, Anna was unaware of the danger present just above her. Above the train were high-voltage cables carrying an immense electrical charge. As Anna struck her pose, her raised leg came dangerously close to the wires. Although she never physically touched them, she entered the electrical field surrounding the wires. The voltage in these cables was a staggering 27,000 volts, far beyond what the human body can withstand. In an instant, the electrical field discharged into Anna's body. Witnesses nearby saw a horrifying scene unfold. A passerby who had been walking near the station noticed the girls on top of the train. He called out to them, warning them to be careful and to keep their heads and legs down, but his warnings went unheard. Just moments after his shout, there was a loud bang. Anna's body had become a conduit for the deadly electrical charge, so strong that flames erupted from her clothing. The force of the electrical discharge was so powerful that it threw Anna's friend off the train roof. She landed on the ground, injured but alive. Meanwhile, Anna was on fire, the intense heat consuming her clothes and skin. The passerby, realizing the severity of the situation, acted quickly. Despite the risk to his own life, he scrambled onto the train, trying desperately to extinguish the flames engulfing Anna. He used his hands and clothing to try to smother the fire, but it was too late. Emergency services were called, and Anna was rushed to the hospital. The burns covered more than 50% of her body. The medical team worked frantically to save her, but the damage was too severe. The electricity had not only burned her skin, but it also caused deep internal injuries. After a short fight for her life, Anna succumbed to her injuries. Her friend, who had been thrown from the train, was also taken to the hospital. She survived, suffering from minor burns and shock. In her statements to the police, she recounted how they had simply wanted to take a memorable photo. They had not thought about the danger overhead. The idea of capturing the ultimate selfie had overshadowed any concerns about safety. The passerby who tried to save Anna was left shaken by the experience. He had been out for a walk when he saw the two girls on top of the train. Aware of the potential danger from the electrical wires, he had tried to warn them. His actions in attempting to extinguish the flames were heroic, but even he could not prevent the tragedy. The aftermath of the incident left a deep scar on the community. Anna's family and friends were devastated. The tragic incident became a story showing the risks associated with the increasingly popular trend of taking selfies in dangerous locations. The temptation of social media fame and the desire to stand out had led to a fatal miscalculation.
It was November 26, 2021, in Kongsberg, Norway. Tor Eckhoff, better known as Apator on YouTube, was preparing for another daring stunt. At 57, he was famous for his extreme activities like ice skating and swimming in frozen lakes, all while drinking vodka. He had over 1.2 million subscribers who eagerly watched his content. That day, he went to Jacob's Dam, a frozen lake, planning to skate on the ice while filming himself. It seemed like just another typical Friday for Tor. Tor was known for taking risks in his videos, often skating on thin ice or diving into freezing waters. He loved nature and adventure, and his stunts were a mix of humor and danger. Before starting his filming, he sent his partner, Tove Skjærven, a message with photos of himself at the lake saying the conditions were good. But things took a tragic turn. While filming, the ice beneath Tor cracked, and he fell into the freezing water. Though he had been in icy water before and always managed to escape, this time he couldn't pull himself out. Locals nearby heard his cries for help and immediately called for rescue. Firefighters and divers arrived quickly, pulling Tor from the water. He was rushed to Ullevål Hospital, but by the time he arrived, it was too late. Tor had been underwater too long. On November 27th, the day after the accident, doctors made the difficult decision to turn off life support. Tove and their son Johannes were with him in his final moments. It was a heartbreaking and sudden end for a man who had spent his life pushing boundaries. Tor's stunts were always dangerous. He skated on frozen lakes, often using a chainsaw to carve his way, and took freezing dips while drinking vodka. His unique mix of adventure and comedy made him a beloved figure in the YouTube community. Just 5 days before his death, Tor had posted a video celebrating his 57th birthday, humorously titled, "I am not dead, I am 57 today." In it, he sat in an outdoor bathtub, drank vodka, and filmed quirky moments like kissing a tree. Ironically, it would be one of his last videos. Fans were shocked and saddened by the news of Tor's death. Many saw him as more than just a YouTuber. He was the epitome of fearless adventure. His final video, which had nearly 2 million views, was filled with comments from fans expressing their grief. Some called him a legend, while others shared how his videos had brought joy to their lives. Tove shared her pain in a heartfelt Facebook post, recalling the events of that day. She described how Tor had messaged her with excitement about the lake, only for tragedy to strike. She explained how the divers had tried to save him, but couldn't because he had been underwater for too long. She ended her post by saying, "We have endless good memories, and we miss you so indescribably." Tor's death, while tragic, was not entirely unexpected. His stunts always carried risk, and those who followed him knew it. He had lived life on the edge, constantly testing his limits in dangerous situations. Unfortunately, on that cold November day, the risk caught up with him. In the wake of his death, tributes poured in from fellow YouTubers and fans. Swedish YouTuber Niemen wrote on Twitter, "He died doing what he loved, producing his wacky and nonsensical videos that never failed to make people smile." Other fans shared similar sentiments, remembering the laughter and excitement Tor had brought to their lives. Tor's YouTube channel, which he started in 2006, was filled with content that reflected his adventurous spirit. Whether it was road trips, sunsets, or ice skating stunts, his love for nature and adventure was always clear. In an interview, Tor once said, "When you are ice swimming or messing around almost naked in the snow, you have a limited amount of time before you get too cold. During that time, you just have to handle the cold mentally." His mental toughness allowed him to push through challenges, but even his strong will couldn't save him in the end.
On December 5, 2017, in Lubinsk, a city in southwestern Russia, 26-year-old Alexander Sasha Chechik found himself in a dangerous situation. Sasha, known for his adventurous nature, decided to pose with a live hand grenade and share the experience with his friends. In a moment that would turn fatal, he pulled the pin from the grenade and began taking pictures. Sasha sent these photos to several friends, showing him holding the grenade with the pin removed. He appeared calm in the images, but his actions were extremely risky. When one of his friends received the photo, they quickly responded with concern. The friend asked, "Where are you? Are you okay?" Sasha replied ambiguously, saying, "Depends on what okay is in your understanding." The friend, alarmed, urged him not to do anything foolish and asked again where he was. However, Sasha did not heed the warning. Despite what Sasha may have believed, a grenade with the pin removed is highly unstable. It doesn't need to be thrown to explode. The pin is the safety mechanism that prevents detonation. Once it's removed, the grenade becomes a ticking time bomb. Shortly after the exchange with his friend, the grenade exploded. The blast was devastating, killing Sasha instantly. The explosion caused severe injuries, which were captured in a graphic police photograph. The image showed the extent of the destruction, making it clear that Sasha had died on the spot. When the police arrived, they quickly secured the scene and began investigating. The Russian investigative committee took over, treating the incident as an accident rather than a self-murder. Their investigation focused on how Sasha had acquired the grenade, as such items are illegal for civilians to possess. Local news quickly covered the tragic event. Reports included the details of the text messages and the photos Sasha had sent before the explosion. One news source noted that Sasha had sent these images to multiple friends, further indicating that he did not intend to kill himself. It seemed he was showing off without fully understanding the danger. In one of the texts, Sasha's friend, concerned after seeing the photo, urged him, "Listen, don't around, where are you?" Unfortunately, Sasha never responded to this urgent message. The silence left many wondering what was going through his mind during those final moments. The investigation revealed that Sasha had not managed to reinsert the pin after pulling it out. This failure meant the grenade was set to explode, which it did shortly after the pin was removed. This tragic mistake cost Sasha his life. Authorities also looked into the issue of how Sasha had obtained the grenade. The illegal trafficking of weapons in Russia has been a known problem, with various illegal routes bringing military-grade equipment into civilian hands. This incident shows the serious risks associated with such illegal activities. For Sasha's friends and family, the incident was a shocking and heartbreaking loss. He was remembered as a young man full of life, often seen joking and enjoying his time. His decision to handle a live grenade was a fatal error, leading to a deadly outcome. This incident reminds us of the dangers of handling explosives. Even if someone seems confident or playful, the reality is that these are dangerous items that should be treated with extreme caution. Sasha's tragic death raises important questions about the availability of such weapons and the responsibilities of individuals in dangerous situations. It was a warm night on August 9, 2015, in Villaseca de la Sagra, a small town near Toledo, Spain. David Lopez, a 32-year-old resident of Villasequilla, had decided to attend the annual bull run with his friends. The atmosphere was electric, with crowds gathering to witness the daring event. David, known for his love of capturing moments on his mobile phone, had never participated in bull runs, but was drawn by the excitement and the opportunity to film something extraordinary. Around 1:40 a.m., David and his friends found a spot behind the metal barriers, a protected area designed to keep spectators safe from the charging bulls. The event had already started, and the bulls were released, running through the streets in a chaotic display of power and tradition. As the bulls raced past, David noticed a collision between two of the massive animals. One of the bulls appeared to fall unconscious, lying motionless on the ground. David saw an opportunity to capture a unique video. Ignoring the safety warnings and the protective barriers, he stepped out into the open street to get a closer shot of the fallen bull. His friends watched nervously as David focused on his mobile screen, oblivious to the dangers around him. As David filmed the scene, another bull, unnoticed by him, charged towards his back. The bull, agitated and powerful, collided with David, tossing him into the air. The crowd gasped in horror as they saw David spinning like a puppet, unable to regain his footing. The bull gored him repeatedly, striking his neck and thigh with deadly force. The scene was chaotic. Spectators screamed and some tried to distract the bull, but it was too late. David lay on the ground, severely injured. The first responders rushed to his aid, providing emergency medical attention right there in the bull ring. David was then transported to Hospital Virgen de la Salud in Toledo, where doctors worked frantically to save his life. He received 2 liters of blood and underwent emergency surgery to stabilize a massive wound in his throat. Despite their best efforts, David succumbed to his injuries around 6 a.m. David's death shocked the community. He was a familiar face in Villa Sequilla, living with his grandfather and an uncle, and doing odd jobs to make ends meet. 2 summers ago, he had worked as a lifeguard at the local swimming pool. His friends and family were devastated by the tragic loss. The town's mayoress, Elena Fernandez, expressed her sorrow, describing David's death as a tragic and stupid accident. She emphasized that David had never been a participant in the bull runs and had simply made a fatal decision to film the event from an unsafe location. Jesus Hinojosa, the mayor of Villaseca de la Sagra, also urged caution. "This sends shivers down our spine," he said. "We organize these events as a tradition so that people can enjoy them, but these things happen. Bulls are dangerous animals, and when there are a lot of people, some don't pay attention. You have to have your wits about you." The rest of the festival was immediately suspended out of respect for David and his grieving family. The incident sparked a conversation about the dangers of modern technology and the risks people take to capture moments on their mobile phones. February 5, 2021 was supposed to be a typical evening at Urban Air Adventure Park in Nashville. The venue was known for family-friendly fun, but unbeknownst to everyone there, tragedy was about to strike in a way few could have predicted. The shocking event would spark debate about social media responsibility and the blurred lines between entertainment and real danger. Timothy Wilkes was a soft-spoken and responsible 20-year-old. He had worked at Walmart for several years before going to school to pursue a career in HVAC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. As responsible as he was, Timothy had another passion: YouTube. On the fateful February night, Timothy set out with a friend to film a video, part of an increasingly popular genre of prank videos, many of which blur the line between humor and threat. Their plan was to stage a robbery for the camera, aiming to capture the shocked reactions of unsuspecting bystanders, a concept that has garnered millions of views on the platform. The location they chose for their video was the parking lot of Urban Air. Families were inside enjoying the attractions, unaware of the tragic event unfolding just outside. It was then that Timothy and his friend approached a group of people. Perhaps the two of them had failed to think their plan through. Perhaps they had failed to realize just how dangerous their idea was, not only for those who would have fallen for their prank, but also for themselves. As they approached the group of people, Timothy and his friend carried butcher knives. To make matters worse, the knives were not props. They were real, sharp, and dangerous. To onlookers, this was no joke. It looked and felt like an armed robbery in progress. Among the group they approached was 23-year-old David Starnes, Jr. Unaware that he was part of a staged video, Starnes saw the knives and reacted in fear for his life and the lives of those around him. In an instant, the situation escalated from a misguided prank to a deadly confrontation. Starnes, acting in self-defense, pulled out a gun and shot Timothy Wilkes, killing him on the spot. And just like that, a 20-year-old was dead. When police arrived at the scene, Starnes admitted to the shooting. He told investigators he had no idea it was a prank and believed he was in real danger. Witnesses confirmed that Wilkes and his friend had been filming a robbery prank for a YouTube video. Despite the tragic outcome, no charges have been filed against Starnes. The police deemed his actions to be in self-defense. Timothy Wilkes' death deeply affected his grandmother, Shirley Berry, who later expressed her devastation and confusion. She revealed that she had been unaware of Timothy's involvement in YouTube videos, calling it a mystery to her. As she grieved the loss of her grandson, she hoped others might learn from this tragedy. She called on parents and guardians to be more aware of what their children are doing online, particularly on platforms like YouTube, where dangerous trends can lead to real-life consequences. What happened that night in Nashville was a confluence of poor judgment, fear, and a deadly misunderstanding. A young man with his future ahead of him lost his life, and another will carry the burden of having taken that life, even if in self-defense. Timothy Wilkes is remembered as a role model for his younger siblings, a serious young man who carried himself with dignity. It was a quiet night on May 31, 2014, near Denver, Colorado. Amritpal Singh, a 29-year-old pilot, was at the controls of his Cessna 150K. Singh, an enthusiastic aviator, often took friends for short flights around the area. On this night, his passenger was Jatinder Singh, a 31-year-old musician in town for a concert. The flight was supposed to be a routine joyride, but it ended in a tragedy that stunned the community. Amritpal Singh had a habit of documenting his flights. He mounted a GoPro camera on the plane's windshield, capturing moments with various passengers. The GoPro recorded multiple flights, showing Singh and his passengers taking selfies, even using the flash function during nighttime flights. These recordings, though not capturing the fatal flight, provided critical insights into the events leading to the crash. Shortly after midnight, Singh's Cessna 150K took off from Front Range Airport in Adams County. It was a clear night, but the dark conditions required heightened awareness and precision. The Cessna climbed steadily into the sky. Singh, familiar with the route, began what should have been a straightforward flight. As the plane ascended, something went wrong. The GoPro camera did not record the fatal flight, but the patterns from previous recordings painted a clear picture. Singh had a tendency to take selfies during flights, often using his cell phone's flash. Investigators believe this habit carried over into the final flight. Around 12:10 a.m., just minutes after takeoff, the plane lost control. Singh, likely disoriented by the flash from his cell phone, struggled to regain control. The plane descended rapidly, crashing into a wheat field. The impact was devastating, killing both Amritpal and Jatinder instantly. The wreckage was discovered around 7:30 a.m., about 7 hours after the crash. The plane was found in a mangled state, having bounced once before coming to rest upright in the field. The National Transportation Safety Board, or NTSB, immediately launched an investigation. The NTSB's report detailed how the use of cell phones during flights distracted Singh. The flash from the camera likely caused spatial disorientation, a condition where a pilot loses the ability to determine their position relative to the Earth. This disorientation led to an aerodynamic stall and subsequent spin into the terrain. Based on evidence of the pilot using a cell phone during low-altitude flying, including just before the crash, it is likely that using the phone during the crash flight distracted the pilot. This distraction may have caused spatial disorientation and led to the pilot losing control, the report stated. Further examination of the wreckage revealed no pre-impact mechanical failures. The crash was solely attributed to pilot error, made worse by distraction. Singh's logbook showed he had 726 total flight hours, with only 27 hours of nighttime flying experience. He lacked certification for flying at night with instruments and for carrying passengers at night, which shows his limited preparedness for such conditions. This tragic incident underscored the dangers of distraction in aviation. Federal rules prohibit commercial pilots and crew from using cell phones or personal electronic devices during critical phases of flight, such as takeoff and landing, or when below 10,000 feet. However, these rules are less strict for private pilots. While private pilots are barred from dangerous or careless behavior, specific regulations about cell phone use are not as clear-cut. The Federal Aviation Administration, or FAA, expects pilots to operate safely and prohibits careless or reckless operation. However, many private pilots use their phones or iPads for navigation and communication, a practice that can lead to distractions if not managed properly. Tony Moreno, a flight instructor with Rocky Mountain Flight School, emphasized the importance of maintaining focus during critical phases of flight. Why take a picture at that critical moment of flight? Why disrupt your concentration on the really critical tasks at that important moment? Moreno questioned. The NTSB's findings led to discussions about the need for stricter regulations regarding the use of personal electronic devices by private pilots. The evidence suggested that Singh's distraction, disorientation, and lack of adequate night flying training combined to cause the crash. The tragic loss of life tells us about the critical need for awareness and adherence to safety protocols. It's the kind of stunt that Nishu Deshwal had performed countless times before, the kind of stunt that had brought him millions of views over the years. But this time was different. This time something went terribly wrong, and Nishu's life, which had been dedicated to creating thrilling and dangerous content for his millions of followers, ended in an instant. Nishu Deshwal was not just another social media influencer. With over 1.5 million YouTube subscribers and 1.3 million Instagram followers, he had built a massive online empire. His wasn't the usual form of content. Nishu's specialized in stunts involving large, heavy vehicles in challenging terrains. His stunts had captivated audiences, racking up over 300 million views across his videos. One of his most watched videos alone had garnered an impressive 25 million views. But this fame was built on a foundation of increasingly dangerous stunts, a gamble with risk that would eventually catch up with him. Nishu's stunts often involved testing the limits of massive machines, particularly tractors, which he drove over unstable ground to the delight of his viewers. For 3 years, his followers watched in awe as he maneuvered these heavy vehicles, balancing them on 2 wheels, pulling off near impossible tricks on soft terrain, and constantly pushing the limits of what the machines, and he, could handle. But on this fateful Wednesday, the danger became all too real. That day, Nishu attempted one of his trademark stunts, lifting the front wheels of a large tractor into the air, making the vehicle balance precariously on its rear wheels. However, the ground beneath him was loose and unstable, making the already challenging maneuver even riskier. Although Nishu had performed similar stunts before, this time the massive machine began to tip backward as the rear wheels lost traction on the loose soil. The tractor teetered at a dangerous angle, and, before anyone could react, it flipped completely with the entire weight of the vehicle crashing down on Nishu. Nishu was crushed between the metal chassis of the tractor and the ground. His friends, standing nearby and filming the stunt, screamed in horror as they helplessly watched the tragedy unfold. The aftermath of his death left his fans and the wider community grappling with the sudden and shocking loss of someone so young. To make matters worse, the 22-year-old left behind a wife and a 6-month-old son. Even though the man had been on a dangerous path, and though his followers were accustomed to watching him cheat death in each video, no one had expected the risk to become a reality. As fans mourned Nishu Deshwal's death, questions arose about the factors that led to the fatal accident. Speculation swirled online, with some pointing to possible faults in the tractor's design. Fans noted that the rollover protection system, which should have shielded Nishu, had failed catastrophically. Some suggested that aftermarket parts may have been improperly sized, while others argued that tractors were simply not designed to perform the kind of stunts Nishu regularly attempted. The weight distribution of the engine, the softness of the terrain, and the immense pressure on the vehicle's structural integrity all combined to turn the stunt into a deadly accident. What happened on that riverbank in Panipat was a tragic culmination of years spent chasing online fame through ever riskier content. Nishu Deshwal's death serves as a sobering reminder of the dangers influencers face when attempting to entertain by pushing physical and mechanical limits. It was July 2021, and Albert Dyrlund was on another one of his adventures. At 22 years old, Albert was a beloved Danish YouTuber known for his fun personality and creative content. That July, Albert's work had brought him to the Italian Alps. He planned to film a video for his channel on the Seseda mountain, but Albert never got to shoot his video. Instead, a devastating accident claimed his life. Albert Dyrlund's rise to prominence began in 2016 when he joined YouTube and started sharing a range of content, from comedy sketches to music videos. Over the years, he amassed a large following, garnering more than 170,000 subscribers on YouTube and over 230,000 followers on Instagram. His energetic and often unconventional approach to entertainment resonated with viewers who were drawn to his humor, creativity, and adventurous spirit. In 2018, Dyrlund even ventured into acting, starring in the comedy film Team Albert, a story about a high schooler's quest to become a YouTube sensation. The film was well received and won the Blockbuster Audience Award at the Danish Film Awards in 2019, further solidifying Dyrlund's place in the Danish entertainment industry. Despite his lighthearted content, Dyrlund was known to push the boundaries in his videos, often involving stunts and risk-taking. Some of his content stirred controversy for its daring nature, including moments where he shaved his head or licked snails for the camera. But these antics were part of what made him popular among a younger audience seeking bold, unapologetic entertainment. Dyrlund's work reflected his playful yet fearless attitude towards life, a trait that endeared him to many. His fans adored his willingness to take risks, but sadly, this same daring nature led to the accident that claimed his life. On July 28, 2021, Dyrlund was filming in the Italian Alps, specifically on Mount Seseda in Val Gardena, a region known for its dramatic cliffs and towering peaks. Dyrlund, accompanied by friends, was attempting to capture footage for his channel on a hiking route with steep, rocky slopes. But as he filmed on the mountain, something happened. Maybe it was because of inattention, or maybe it was because of recklessness. Albert was filming on a hiking trail that links two mountain peaks. The trail was steep and rocky. The unimaginable happened in an instant. 22-year-old Albert Dyrlund stumbled and fell from a staggering height of 656 feet. His friends immediately alerted the authorities. A rescue helicopter was dispatched instantly, but the rescue operation itself was complicated by difficult conditions, including dense fog. When rescuers finally reached Albert Dyrlund, the YouTuber was pronounced dead at the scene. According to reports, Dyrlund's death occurred in a matter of seconds. Friends, fellow creators, and fans expressed their grief online. Many tributes poured in for the young YouTuber, with Danish social media personalities sharing heartfelt messages in his honor. As those who knew him mourn his passing, they also celebrate the joy he brought into the lives of many. Dyrlund's memory lives on through his videos, a lasting testament to his creativity as well as his humor. In January 2015, fitness model and actor George Gregory Plitt Jr., better known as Greg Plitt, was no stranger to daring videos. The 37-year-old had a fearless approach to life, one that he incorporated in his videos. But on January 17, 2015, what started as just another shoot ended in a heart-wrenching loss, leaving countless people devastated. Greg Plitt had always been a larger-than-life figure, inspiring others with his incredible physique, discipline, and relentless drive. A West Point graduate and former Army Ranger, Plitt had spent 5 years serving his country, a testament to his unyielding determination and dedication. His military background shaped him into the disciplined, hard-working man he became, and his confidence was infectious. After leaving the Army, Plitt transitioned into a career in fitness and modeling, quickly becoming a dominant figure in the industry. His face and chiseled body graced the covers of over 250 fitness magazines, making him one of the most recognizable figures in fitness culture. He wasn't just a fitness model, though. Plitt was also an actor, appearing on the Bravo television series Workout and NBC's soap opera Days of Our Lives. His likeness even served as the basis for the muscular, godlike figure of Dr. Manhattan in the 2009 film Watchmen. He had built an empire of fitness, motivation, and self-discipline, attracting a massive following that admired his relentless work ethic and drive to push boundaries. Fans flocked to his social media channels for inspiration, and Plitt was always eager to deliver. However, his thirst for excitement and desire to push the limits would ultimately lead him down a fatal path. It was January 17, 2015, when Plitt and two crew members set up along the railroad tracks in Burbank, California, to film a video meant to promote an energy drink. It wasn't the first time Plitt had filmed on those tracks. He had previously filmed videos of himself performing exercises on the rails as trains passed behind him. This time, however, things would go tragically wrong. Plitt began running alongside the track, seemingly unaware of the southbound Metrolink commuter train approaching behind him. A rock climber, skydiver, and all-around adrenaline junkie, Plitt had jumped out of planes more than 1,000 times during his military career. Risk was nothing new to him. But this time, his confidence betrayed him. When the train's horn blared, Plitt and his crew likely believed it was on an adjacent track. He continued running, trying to capture the perfect shot, but in a cruel twist of fate, Plitt was on the same track as the oncoming train. What happened next was irreversible and horrifying. Investigators later determined that Plitt had misjudged the situation, perhaps not realizing the train was barreling down on the track he was running along. In a desperate attempt to escape, Plitt tried to run out of the train's path, but he failed to do so. The train, unable to stop in time despite the engineer applying the emergency brakes, struck Plitt, ending his life almost instantly. The entire incident was captured on the train's onboard cameras. In the wake of his death, Plitt's family, friends, and fans struggled to make sense of the tragedy. His girlfriend, Christina Steiskal, tearfully explained that he was just trying to get the best shot, echoing what many close to him had said about his relentless pursuit of excellence. He lived life on the edge, constantly pushing himself to new heights, and it was this drive that ultimately led to the fatal miscalculation. Plitt's death was later ruled a tragic accident. Greg Plitt died of multiple blunt force injuries, while his friends and family mourned the loss of a man they described as larger than life. Investigators worked to understand why such a dangerous shoot had been conducted without proper permits or safety measures in place. The filming location was on a restricted area of the tracks, and no one had the authority to be there. Plitt's death was a stark reminder of the risks that come with pushing physical limits, even for someone as experienced and strong as he was. His friends described him as someone who believed there was nothing he couldn't do, but on that fateful day he encountered a challenge he could not overcome. Greg Plitt left behind a legacy marked by a tragic end, a sobering reminder of the dangers that come with the thirst for adventure. The online community was struck by tragedy in July 2019 when Grant Thompson, the star and creator of the popular YouTube channel The King of Random, lost his life in a baffling accident. At 38 years old, Thompson was known for his inventive and often daring content, which blended science experiments with creative, hands-on projects. His death shocked millions of fans who had grown to admire his curiosity and enthusiasm. Grant Thompson's journey began far from the world of viral fame. Born in 1980, Thompson was a commercial airline pilot living in Farmington, Utah. At 29, he developed a fascination with understanding how things worked. In his spare time, he began tinkering with random household objects and experimenting with basic scientific principles. It wasn't long before these hobby projects caught the attention of his friends and family. Encouraged by their interest, Thompson decided to document his experiments on video and share them online. In January 2010, Thompson created his YouTube channel, but it wasn't until 2011 that he seriously pursued the idea of making videos focused on life hacks, experiments, and DIY projects. A friend had jokingly referred to him as the King of Random, a name that stuck and eventually became the brand for his channel. By 2012, the King of Random was steadily growing, capturing the imaginations of viewers with its blend of fun science and practical innovation. Thompson's relatable explanations, combined with his infectious energy, made the channel a hit. Over time, it gained more than 11 million subscribers and accumulated over 2.5 billion views. Thompson's content was varied, often involving large quantities of everyday items, quirky experiments, and unique how-to projects. Whether demonstrating how to make homemade fireworks or testing the tensile strength of duct tape, his channel became a go-to for viewers curious about the possibilities of everyday science. Despite his success, Thompson's creative pursuits sometimes brought him into conflict with local authorities in Utah due to the experimental nature of his projects, which he filmed in his backyard. However, his passion for discovery remained undeterred, and his influence in the online world continued to grow. By 2019, Thompson had become a well-established figure in the YouTube community. But despite his fame, Thompson remained deeply committed to his family, including his wife and 4 sons. In the months leading up to his death, he began to distance himself from the day-to-day demands of the channel to spend more time with them. Unfortunately, it was during this period that his adventurous spirit would lead to tragedy. On July 29, 2019, Grant Thompson set off for what was meant to be a memorable paragliding trip near Sand Hollow State Park in Hurricane, Utah. The man had taken up paragliding only 5 months prior. It was an activity that fit the risk-taking that had defined his career. But Grant Thompson failed to return home that evening. Naturally, his family grew concerned and contacted local authorities. A search was launched, and officers used the GPS locator Thompson had been carrying to track his last known location. Hours later, rescuers made a gruesome discovery. They found Grant Thompson's body and paragliding equipment in a remote and rugged area of the park. A medical helicopter was deployed to retrieve Thompson's remains. Tragically, video footage from his recording device captured the final moments leading up to his death. According to investigators, a sudden change in the wind caused an updraft that collapsed Thompson's parachute. Though he attempted to deploy his reserve chute, he was too close to the ground, about 100 feet, for it to fully open. Thompson died on impact, merely 4 seconds after the malfunction occurred. A video titled "Grant Thompson in Memoriam" was posted on his channel the day after his death, paying tribute to the man who had built a global community around curiosity, learning, and experimentation.
It was June 26, 2017, in Halstad, Minnesota. Mona Lisa Perez, a 19-year-old, was in her home with her boyfriend, Pedro Ruiz, 3. They were a young couple, deeply in love, and always looking for ways to make their mark on social media. Their YouTube channel featured a variety of pranks and stunts, some more dangerous than others. On that day, they decided to film what they hoped would be their most popular video yet. Unfortunately, the stunt went tragically wrong. Mona Lisa and Pedro were getting ready to shoot a video where Mona Lisa would fire a .50 caliber Desert Eagle handgun at a thick book that Pedro was holding against his chest. Pedro was convinced the book would stop the bullet. He had even shown Mona Lisa another book he'd shot before, where the bullet hadn't gone all the way through. Confident their stunt would work, Pedro set up 2 cameras to catch the action, one mounted on the back of a vehicle and the other on a ladder. Mona Lisa, 7 months pregnant at the time, was hesitant. In the video transcript, she can be heard saying, "I can't do it, babe. I'm so scared." Pedro reassured her, saying, "As long as you hit the book, you'll be fine. Come on." Trusting Pedro's confidence, Mona Lisa aimed and fired from about a foot away. The bullet pierced the book and struck Pedro in the chest. Panicking, Mona Lisa called 911, telling the dispatcher, "We were doing a YouTube video and it went wrong. Please hurry up." Despite the quick response of the paramedics, Pedro Ruiz, 3, 22, was pronounced dead at the scene from a single gunshot wound to the chest. In the days following the incident, the video of the shooting, captured on 2 cameras, became key evidence in the investigation. Mona Lisa was charged with second-degree manslaughter. She pleaded guilty to the charge and was sentenced to 180 days in jail, which she would serve in 30-day increments each year for the next 3 years. She was also sentenced to 10 years of supervised probation and was banned from ever possessing firearms. Additionally, the plea agreement prohibited her from profiting off the video of the shooting. Pedro's family was devastated by his death. His aunt, Claudia Ruiz told CNN affiliate KVLY, "They were in love. They loved each other. It was just a prank gone wrong. It shouldn't have happened like this. It shouldn't have happened at all." The couple had a 3-year-old daughter and were expecting their second child. Mona Lisa gave birth to their son in September. The tragic incident raised many questions about the lengths people would go to for internet fame. Sheriff Jeremy Thornton of Norman County expressed his confusion, saying, "I really have no idea what they were thinking. I just don't understand the younger generation on trying to get their 15 minutes of fame." Mona Lisa and Pedro's YouTube channel had a modest following at the time of the incident, with around 218 subscribers. Their videos included harmless pranks like Pedro climbing a tree and falling, and Mona Lisa feeding him a donut covered in baby powder instead of powdered sugar. In their last video together, filmed at a fairground, Mona Lisa said, "Imagine when we have 300,000 subscribers." In the wake of the shooting, Mona Lisa's tweet from the day of the incident gained significant attention. She had written, "Me and Pedro are probably going to shoot one of the most dangerous videos ever. His idea, not mine." The tweet was retweeted over 2,000 times and garnered nearly 1,500 replies, a mix of sympathy and criticism. On July 3, 2018, a tragic accident unfolded at Shannon Falls in British Columbia, Canada, when 3 well-known YouTubers from the High on Life travel group lost their lives. Riker Gamble, Alexei Liak, and Megan Scraper, known for creating thrilling travel content, were exploring the area that day. Their adventurous spirits, which had attracted millions of followers on social media, ultimately led to a devastating outcome. Riker and Alexei, both from Vancouver, started the High on Life YouTube channel in 2012 with their friend Parker Hughes. They wanted to inspire people to explore the world, take risks, and live fully. Over time, the channel gained over 500,000 YouTube subscribers and over 1 million Instagram followers. The group became famous for their daring adventures, often showcasing extreme stunts in breathtaking locations. Megan Scraper, a former field hockey player and social media consultant, later joined the group, bringing the same love for exploration and adventure. Their message was always about living in the moment, pushing limits, and making the most of life. On the day of the accident, the group decided to swim in one of the pools at the top of Shannon Falls. The waterfall, standing at 1,099 feet, is the 3rd highest in British Columbia. Though it's a beautiful spot, it's also known for its danger due to slippery rocks and strong currents. As they stood near the edge, Megan tragically slipped on the wet rocks and fell into the waterfall. Seeing her fall, Riker and Alexei immediately jumped into the water to save her. But the strong currents overpowered them as well. In a matter of moments, all 3 were swept down the waterfall, plunging nearly 100 feet into the pool below. Witnesses were horrified as they saw their friends disappear. Emergency services were quickly called, and search and rescue teams from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, or RCMP, and Squamish Search and Rescue arrived. Despite the rapid response, the recovery was difficult due to the dangerous terrain and strong water flow. It took hours to recover their bodies, which were all found by the end of the day. The news of their deaths spread quickly, leaving their fans, friends, and families heartbroken. Social media was flooded with tributes to the 3 who had inspired so many to live adventurously. The remaining members of the High on Life team released an emotional tribute, calling Riker, Alexei, and Megan the kindest, warmest, and most driven people. They expressed their deep grief, saying, "The world has lost a great deal of light with their passing." The British Columbia Coroner's Service confirmed that their deaths were accidental, caused by the fall from the top of Shannon Falls. The slippery conditions, caused by mist and algae on the rocks, were cited as contributing factors. John Wilcox from Squamish Search and Rescue explained the risks of areas like Shannon Falls in an interview. He described the rocks as polished granite, often covered with mist and lichen, making them extremely slippery. He warned that exploring such areas carries significant danger. This incident also drew attention to the risks taken by extreme adventure content creators. High on Life had faced criticism before. In 2017, Riker and Alexei, along with another group member, were fined and banned from US federal lands for 5 years after walking on sensitive hot springs in Yellowstone National Park. Despite the controversy, their fans remained loyal, drawn to the group's message of living life without limits. In one of Riker's last Instagram posts, he emphasized the importance of living in the moment and enjoying life, which resonated with his followers. The deaths of Riker, Alexei, and Megan left a lasting impact on the YouTube community and their fans. Their passion for exploring and living life to the fullest inspired countless people, but their tragic end shows the dangers that come with extreme adventures. Shannon Falls, while beautiful, remains a dangerous place, especially for those who underestimate its risks. Authorities continue to warn visitors to exercise caution and to be mindful of the hazards when exploring such areas. It was a cold November night in 2017 when James William Stobie, better known as Stobe the Hobo, was out doing what he loved, riding the rails. Stobie had become famous on YouTube for documenting his life as a modern-day train hopper, showing a dangerous world few dared to enter. His videos were more than just clips of train hopping. They were artistic, with his piano music playing in the background as he crossed vast landscapes. His commentary was dry, honest, and often humorous, providing a raw look into the risks of the lifestyle he had chosen. On November 9, 2017, Stobie was in Maryland, filming one of his latest adventures, but something went terribly wrong. Some reports say his backpack got caught on an Amtrak train, dragging him to his death. Others suggest he may have fallen from a bridge while trying to hop a train and ended up on the tracks. No matter the exact details, the outcome was tragic. James Stobie died while pursuing his passion. Stobie was only 33 when he died, but in those years, he gained a loyal following. His videos were popular not only because of the danger, but also because of his unique style and eye for capturing the beauty of America from a moving freight train. His work had the spirit of Depression-era hobos who rode the rails in search of a better life. For Stobie, train hopping was more than just a thrill. It was his way of rejecting a modern life he found unfulfilling. Born to Michael and Mary Stobie in Colorado, James had always embraced an unconventional lifestyle. Friends described him as intelligent, quirky, and passionate about his interests. His videos often featured his own piano music, blending his creativity with a sense of rebellion against societal norms. As Stobie's popularity grew, so did the dangers he faced. Train hopping is illegal and risky, something he didn't shy away from discussing in his videos. He openly talked about close encounters with train wheels and the dangers of hopping while tired or drunk. In one interview, he recalled an incident where he nearly lost his life after jumping off a train while drunk and fatigued. Despite the risks, Stobie kept going. His fans admired him for it, and on a Facebook memorial page, one person wrote, "He died doing what he loved." His YouTube channel had nearly 11,000 subscribers, drawn in by his honest, humorous, and often thrilling content. Watching Stobie ride through swamps and across plains felt like joining him on his journey. However, his death also brought attention to the real dangers of train hopping. Some speculated about how exactly he died, but the Baltimore Police Department didn't release many details. For the train hopping community, his death shows the risks they face. One user on Reddit warned others about the dangers, writing, "Train hopping is not glamorous or romantic. It will kill you." Stobie's death not only affected his fans, but deeply impacted his family and friends. He was a beloved son, brother, and friend, known for his humor, compassion, and love for life. His obituary described him as a person who would be remembered both for his work and the mark he left on those who knew him. Though his life was cut short, Stobie's influence didn't end with his death. His videos continued to inspire a new generation of train hoppers, like a young man from Colorado named Dancer, who began his own YouTube channel in 2020. Inspired by Stobie, Dancer also knew the dangers, but was drawn to the same thrill. The train hopping community has grown since Stobie's passing, with many trying to honor his legacy while navigating criticism for promoting a dangerous lifestyle. For them, like Stobie, train hopping isn't just a hobby. It's a form of self-expression and a connection to the past. But as Stobie's story shows, it's a way of life that can come with deadly consequences.